Hello, and thank you for joining us on this video on Discovery Harbour Resources and its Caldera project. I'm Mark Fields, President and CEO of the company. First of all, I would like to say a very big thank you to the frontline workers for all their efforts and dedication during this time. We're facing a very major health crisis right now. They're in the front lines to get it under control on our behalf. So I'd like to express our appreciation for that work. In a previous video, I described the 10 drill sites that we've chosen for the drill site application as detailed in our April 8th news release. I also said in that video that I would go through more detail in a longer video, and that's what this one will be about. I would like to first of all say thank you to the two people who made some very large contributions to this process, and that is Mark Backness in the dark clothes here and Ella Morris in the lighter clothes. They are on the Caldera property in this photograph last fall, and Mark Backness, he was the key to choosing the 33 targets that we ranked and described. And with Ellen and Mark, we went through those targets and picked the 10 drill sites. So thank you to them for their very large role and big contributions during this process. The first step to begin choosing drill sites is to compile all the data that we have through historical drilling, previous operators' work. And this is a very large property, over 30 square kilometers. So we had to make sure we did the right work to choose the sites within this low sulfidation epithermal gold system that we are looking at. The work that was done by previous operators on different parts of the property was very much an important part of our work here. Companies such as Homestake, Noranda, other ones were such as Battle Mountain, Glamis, they all did work on this property. And all that work that they did was actually quite productive. They found lots of smoke, as we say in the industry, and they're looking for a round mountain, large deposit, low grade but very shallow, similar to what Kinross's mine called Round Mountain is doing right now. They didn't find it, but they found lots of smoke, and based on that data, we have decided to look for a different kind of target, a deeper, higher grade underground target. And that data that they've accumulated over the years that we have at our disposal is very fundamental to picking the best drill sites. We have a cross-section here I want to show you, and it is on our April 8th news release as well. And this is an important, because this helps show how we pick the drill sites. And in particular here, you can see that this is the structures are in the red here, and the solutions would come up from depth as they work their way up. The temperature and pressure changes. The base metals come out first. Later on, the gold and silver. As you get towards the surface, then you get the antimony, arsenic, and mercury, for example. So these structures are important, and the small is important as we choose the drill sites for the drill permit application we have now put in. So after we've done all that, we began by compiling all this work, as I mentioned, the historical drilling, surface work, previous soil sampling work, the work that Mark Backness did on our behalf, mapping the project, the soil sampling work that we did on the property ourselves. We put those results out in January of this year. Then the data compilation that Ella Morris did to make sure that we had a nice, it was all digitized, it was cleaned up, errors were removed. So we could look at it using layers for a common database to query each of the 33 targets. And that way we had a good, consistent method to evaluate and pick the 10 drill sites. So the criteria that we used to pick these 10 drill sites, well, there's a number of them. They include the historical drilling, the surface soil sampling results, the strength of the structures that we identified, how long they were, the width of the alteration, silica alteration. Silica is often associated with gold, so that's a very key alteration system that we're looking at. Also the mineral textures to make sure that we're high in the system and the gold deposit remains below us. Soil sampling results we did. All those were criteria that we used to pick the 10 drill sites that we ultimately came up with. So the next step is to go through the common database separately. So Mark and Alan and myself all did this individually. We wanted to make sure we looked at it independently and there was no groupthink involved at the initial stages. So Mark Backness in particular did a great job of looking at the Callista and Darius areas, for example. We'd done a good mapping job. He knew the data very well. And then Ella Morris, he had a stronger focus on the Adara, the Gemini areas, which have got an abundance of historical drill hole data there and other surface data as well. That was his focus. My particular area of interest really was to make sure we had a good geographic spread of targets throughout the whole property. As I said, it's 30 square kilometers. So we want a nice spread of the targets. Also different criteria. So each one has something special about it and had a different characteristic to it compared to some of the other ones. By the way, when we did put the drill permit application, we were aware of a restriction. We can't build more than 1 mile of new roads. So fortunately, we've got a very long, very good network of roads on the Caldera project, but we did have to consider that the final drill selections had to consider this 1 mile restriction. So next step was to exchange our lists and notes and have a video conference call, share the screens as we're doing with you today as well. And we did that. And the first thing we did at that point was perhaps counterintuitive. We eliminated some targets. Targets that were either weaker or perhaps they lacked some data. They lacked some characteristics that we felt were compelling to make them a drill site target. So on that basis, we eliminated the Harmonia and some targets in the Electra area as well. So sometimes in life, you simply start by eliminating things to make the ultimate choices easier. So you probably are wondering, when is this guy actually going to tell us how he picked the drill sites? Well, we're getting there very soon. But one thing I do hope you appreciate is the length of time and the amount of work and effort that goes into making sure that we have a good database, and before we can actually pick the drill sites, there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes before we get to that point of actually identifying the drill sites. I will be honest that at the very beginning, we knew that there were going to be some drill sites in the Adera, the Gemina, the Calista areas. They're very strong service results, very good results historically. We know we'd have drill sites there. But we had to have a systematic and consistent fashion go through each of the 33 drill targets to pick where the drill site was actually going to be on each of these areas, including areas we knew there'd be some drill sites. I want to show you figure 2 now, figure 1. And this is also on our April 8th news release. This is the drill site locations on the property. So again, a large property, 30 square kilometers, you can see outlined in red here. And A, proceeding alphabetically through here, D, all the way back up to J. Those are the 10 drill sites that we've chosen for this drill site application. There's some other data on this figure. For example, the areas that are outlined, Calista, Darius, some of the anomalous areas that we've identified previously. Also, the green and yellow are the soil anomalies, the gold soil anomalies. And you see the scale bar here. This is a kilometer from here to here. So on this map here, we will be looking at the A in the Calista, C in the Darius, and the J in the Adera areas in particular, to give you examples of how we picked the actual specific drill sites. So 2 of the simpler ones were the Calista areas, and that's because the data was based upon the excellent surface results in a long continuous structure. As I noted earlier, Mark Backness leveraged his fieldwork at Caldera to evaluate these areas in particular. And so drill site A had outstanding characteristic was that it was a long and strong structure. That was a key feature for it. As you recall, those structures are the conduits from deeper in the earth to bring the fluids, including the gold, up closer to surface. So if it extends to surface, we need to follow it down to depth where that gold, the boiling point is, where the gold and silver would come out most consistently. So additionally, the structure at Calista is characterized by silicified fault breccias. And that's an important characteristic because you often find gold associated with that silicified fault areas. So we looked at the gold results in the area as well. And at drill site A, there are quite a few old workings, and with some good gold results, for example, 8 grams per ton gold. However, we also noted that although the historical drill holes in the area didn't intersect high-grade gold, they did intersect low-grade gold. So we know there's gold in this particular area, at drill site area, right up here. So now following our idea that the better, more consistent gold will come out at depth, we believe we need to drill deeper here to 300 meters or more to get to that area where the gold will come out most consistently. So there's a good list of positives for this area. And in addition to that, this area is topographically fairly low. So therefore we have to drill less to get down to 300 meters below the surface, in effect, to get to where the gold will come out most consistently. By the way, you can see I'm a one-man band here trying to go back and forth with this video to share the screen, show you certain things at the same time. But I'm still not doing this by myself. As I've mentioned before, Alan and Mark have been very instrumental in picking these drill sites, doing all this work on our behalf. And in addition, Rodney Stevens, who's a vice president and a director of the company, he's also doing videos like this. Rodney was formerly an analyst, and I certainly encourage you to look at his videos where he will describe the markets and leverage some of his expertise to give you some insights into what makes a company like Discovery Harbour tick, what we have to focus on to make sure that we have a good shot at success going forward. So again, I encourage you to look at the other videos we have on this website. The second drill site I would like to describe is drill site number C, which is down here in the Darius area. You can see there's a gold in soil anomaly throughout this area as well. Why we picked this one, it does have some different characteristics. As I said, that's one of the things we're looking for. In this particular case, it's got some very interesting mineral textures. It's got what we call the silica after the calcite crystals. I'm going to try and show you some rock shots of that. And if I don't show you them successfully, then you'll be able to go on to our website and see them there. So there's one there. So you can see the long features here. Those are formerly calcite crystals that have been replaced by silica, a later alteration. And again, a very good sign that they've got the right systems in place, the right plumbing system in place for the gold to be deposited. And at this point, we're higher in the system and the gold to be deposited at a lower part in the systems. We need to drill deeper again to get to that area where the gold would come out most consistently. So we also have other information about this particular area. And for example, there's been gold found in the surface samples, up to 4 grams per ton gold. Also, very importantly for us, there's a very coherent soil anomaly in the soil anomaly with gold, 25 parts per billion gold. So also there's some antimony, arsenic, and mercury. So very good multi-element soil anomaly to indicate that we're in a good location here to drill to find gold at a deeper level. So the drill holes here, they did find some gold, but they weren't particularly high grade by any means. And also in our view, they weren't in the right place to test the target that we're looking for, which again is different than previous operators because we're looking for the deeper, higher grade underground target. So I'll give you one more example from the 10 drill sites that we've selected. And I will go to this, back to the figure 1 of our drill site, and that is here. And now I will be speaking about this area over here. So drill site J in particular. As I said earlier on, we knew that we're going to pick some drill sites in the Adara and Gemina areas because of the abundance of positive historical work, drill holes, surface sampling, old workings. However, when we got to, so we started to do this, and Alan Morris, by the way, he was a key factor here. He really did a very good job of compiling this data, and he put it into a 3D program so we could look at the third dimension for the drill holes. And on that basis, we looked at the area. We picked 3 drill sites in the Adara and a further 2 in the Gemina area. For the J, we could have actually, you can see I and J are very close together. We could have actually labeled them, for example, IA and IB. But we picked 2 different drill sites, and the reason for that is because it gives us some flexibility in the permitting process. The U.S. Forest Service, which is a permitting agency for the drill permit, they like to have some flexibility as well. So by picking some different drill sites, it gives us a little bit of latitude as we go through this process of receiving the drill permit. So why do we cite J? I've given you some of the reasons already, but some of the specific reasons include that there's some many old workings, there's an old shaft in the area. As well, we've got some high-grade rock samples. One in particular was 58 grams per ton gold. A high-grade result like that, you need to follow up. You need to pay close attention to good grade samples such as that. Also, in this particular area, there were some good historical drill results. And again, I'll bring that cross-section up because what we did here was put some drill sites onto a conceptual, what we call the Adara Gemina target area. So you can see some historical drill holes throughout here. What we see is potentially being a representation of the current surface versus the old paleo surface. And you can see the drill sites, drill holes, all very shallow, tapping into some of the structures at various areas. Some good gold results here. For example, 3 meters over almost 38 grams here. For example, another one over here, 7.6 meters over 8 grams per ton gold. So lots of indications of gold here, very promising. we need to drill deeper down to where we would see the bonanza grade existing at this depth here. So that's how we've gone through and picked these targets. One other factor about this area here in particular, I'd like to point out is that there's a flexure in the structure in this particular area, as well as a silica alteration. But the flexure in the structure is important because that's often where the solutions will be more prone to coming out of the solution and depositing gold. So again, another promising point about this particular area, drill site J. So I hope this gives you some insight into how we've chosen the 10 drill sites out of the 33 targets. We do like all the 33 targets. The 10 drill sites are the best ones from that. And we hope to get on the property, looking forward to getting on the property to drill these areas and see if Mother Nature has tucked away a gold deposit someplace down there that we'll be able to find with our drill program. Thank you for listening to this video. Please do stay safe, and we look forward to staying in touch.